Welcome to the Illusions of Reality with your hosts, Burt Baxter and Kincade.
Welcome to Illusions of Reality. I'm your host, Kincade, along with Burt Baxter. It's your one-stop shop for conspiracy theory, current events, politics, and the discussion of reality. Thank you for joining us for our inaugural kickoff episode. So it's our first show here, so bear with us. The topic today is going to be the discussion of pretty much our own personal wake-up process, our awakening, if you will, to the matrix of the world around us. And Bert, where did that process pretty much begin with you? Could you pinpoint and put a finger on where you started to start questioning things and realize that things of what we're told with this world weren't quite right?
No, I don't know if I could actually pinpoint that at a certain process. Again, I think throughout life, you've always questioned things, and whether it's been a rough childhood or certain people wired certain ways to question authority or any type of overbearing influence on your day-to-day life. But we were talking previously kind of something about a concept as simple as not being, when you start talking with other people and you can realize that at an ever-increasing rate, it's hard to even find people that can empathize with something as simple as a concept of war or just inflicting pain on someone else. And when you start kind of feeling that you're in the minority of some pretty very basic, human rights kind of discussion, and then that kind of made me start to think, okay, I don't think everybody's built like this. I don't think this comes, necessarily internally for everybody. So what is this, existing pressure that's coming from, whether it's subliminal or whatever area it's coming from, something's not right here. And I mean, this could maybe 10 in the last 10 or 15 years, really coming into an adulthood that to an extent has been forged for you. You're playing the game, you're living by the rules, and something just doesn't feel right.
For me, I mean, I've always had this yearning at a very young age. I don't know, that something wasn't right with the world. I mean, I remember being 7 or 8 years old and asking my mom, well, why is it that I have to go to school? I hated going to school, probably like most kids do, but I really, really hated going to school. And, I remember questioning her. My mom, love her, but she is one of those good, sheeple, so to speak, pay your taxes, go to work, don't ask questions, do what you got to do. But I remember asking her that question at a very young age, just, why do I have to go to school? I hate going to school. Well, you have to go to school so you can get a good job. Well, why do I have to get a good job when I don't want to work? It just didn't make sense to me back then. So I remember even at that point just having the question of, well, why are things are the way that they are? And then it wasn't, I spent my whole life searching, as I'm sure if not most of us, all of us do. Very young age, had her get me a little pocket Bible and thumbing through my little pocket Bible and being able to discern and not understand the thou and thus and thee and whatever, what have you. But it wasn't until probably, let's see now, year 2002 maybe, to where a buddy of ours, our buddy Jay, had come back from the military, and he had a roommate that told him that there's a government that controls all the world's governments, and that it's called the Illuminati. And that there's this group called the Illuminati of all the rich financiers and movers and shakers that are behind the scenes that control the entire world. And I remember when he said this to me and told this to me for the first time, and he said, there's a group that controls everything, that's behind all the world's stage and all the world's politics. And at first, when he told me this, I thought he was absolutely crazy. I said, there's absolutely no way in this world that there's a group that can control everything. There's too many moving parts. It's too big. There's too much going on. So when I initially started to question things, it was to prove him wrong, believe it or not. And I began that process. I was like, well, let me look, look at this, into this Illuminati and see what this Illuminati is all about. So as I started to delve into the Illuminati, now granted, you got to remember, I'm full-blown sheeple mode at this point. I had no idea the depth of the journey I was getting ready to take and the way that my life was getting ready to change at this point. So I started delving into the Illuminati, looking into the Illuminati, Adam Weishaupt and all that good stuff. And of course, going down that stuff. But at this time, like I said, this was around maybe 2002, maybe 2003.
So I'm sure, the source material was limited, but even at that time, I mean, when you're searching as broad of a subject of Illuminati, I'm sure you found a lot of good stuff.
Very, very limited. What was crazy, I can't even remember the site that I ended up on at the time. Some bizarre site, Illuminati site at that time, way back then. It wasn't as prevalent as it is now to where more people are awake to what's happening. But stumbled upon this site, and the Illuminati stuff was a little too big for me to digest at that point still. Like, the history of it, like I said, at this point, I was still plugged in. Only thing I was concerned about was the new Final Fantasy, the new Madden, Worlds of Warcraft, and, my girlfriend. That was it. That was my life. And, that's all I looked at. That was reality to me. And the thing that caught my eye and the thing that started it all from that point on was, looking at the Illuminati. Then on the sidebar, I saw the 9/11 conspiracy. 9/11 conspiracy, okay, I can relate to that. I can't really so much relate to the Illuminati.
1700s.
Right.
Yeah.
So 9/11, I knew I lived through that.
A year prior, probably.
Right. So that I can understand. So I clicked the 9/11 link, not thinking anything of it at the time. And had I known now, or known then what I know now, going back and looking and taking the blue pill or the red pill, which is pretty much the moment that I was having at that point.
Right.
Would I still have done it? But anyway, so I clicked the link, and lo and behold, there's everything that you can imagine about 9/11, whatever would have you, and the controlled demolition of the buildings, and WTC-7, and the Pentagon, and this, that, and the other. And at first, you got to remember, I'm going into this with full blinders on. Never heard or seen anything like this before. This is the first time I've ever delved into anything like this. And I start delving down into it, and I'm getting in there, and I'm reading, and I can't believe what I'm reading. And before I know it, a couple of hours had gone by. I've got, this is before tab browsing, so I have pages and pages of information up to where I'm just into this thing. And I remember, I don't know if I was the first one to bring that to your attention.
I think you were, and again at that point, I can remember a lot of the earlier videos I saw, Zia Geist, Wake Up Call, they follow the same certain, formula of tying all that together. I mean, it would go so far as, but just really opening your eyes to the concept of a false flag or something like that, to where you really could relate it to, hey, I grew up in a curriculum of, elementary school and learned things in social studies or whatnot. Textbook
Thanksgiving.
Textbook versions of what people were trying to teach you and pass off, to the point now where I even wonder, how is that going to be portrayed in the textbooks of tomorrow?
Oh, it'll be 100% fact.
Right.
To
terrorists came and did that. So that was another. You talk about this topic as a whole, and really opening your eyes, because those were things I could really apply and go, oh, you know what? I did read a lot about World War II and Vietnam and things like that when you were.
But what was the real story there?
Right, and then funny enough, you do a little research, and it's, boom, there is a smoking gun in every one of those instances. And it just kind of, again, it had you questioning, well, wow, if I can question this and really piecemeal it together for myself in a way that I can understand that it appears pretty obvious to me, then, and it's the rabbit hole process of what can I look at next, and then.
Well, from there, for me, of course, then that was just all text. But the big bomb, I'm a visual guy, the real game changer, so to speak, for me at that point was the Loose Change documentary.
Right.
The first real visual documentary I had seen that really, that was really well put together, really well done, fact after fact after fact, to where, almost indisputable kind of when you delved into the evidence of it, of something was big and something wasn't right and something was going on. And that was the first time in my entire life, personally, I mean, outside of everybody knew about the JFK assassination and something wasn't right there, but that I began to question things. And I remember bringing it to people and trying to have that conversation with folks and hey, 9/11 might have been an inside job and a conspiracy, and there's all these worlds, figures behind the scenes that are pulling strings. And
it was a sense of excitement that you knew, you could see it for yourself instantly within a matter of days or whatnot. But it was liberating in the sense that you felt like you could talk to people and they would pick up right where you left off and really understand you and go, yeah, you know what? Anybody can see that. Not
so fast, though, because as you begin to try to have that conversation, you immediately get the blank stares, almost like you see those shop front doors, those metal grating doors roll down, and the defenses go up, and people, especially back then, I mean, we're talking really early, mid-2000s here, of where, people did not want to hear that. This is pre-Facebook and everybody sharing every little tidbit of information about their lives, where people were a bit more private. And to say, hey, do you know your government's lying to you?
Yeah.
And, even you guys at the time, Jay was the one who kind of piqued my curiosity to delve into that whole world, but I didn't think he ever realized how far I would run with it. Because, a lot of people at the time thought maybe I had gone off the deep end a bit, because I went full blown. At that point, I began to question everything.
Yeah, naturally.
I didn't stop at 9/11. Of course, 9/11 kicked it off. Loose change. Forgive me for not remembering the guys who created that video, but that literally was a turning point in my life and a catalyst for just the research process. From there, I just became so hungry to kind of know the truth of what in the world's going on. And of course, from there, I hot-shotted right back onto that whole Illuminati thing, because I'm like, all right, well, if this 9/11 thing's real, and he's telling me that there's guys behind the scenes that are controlling and pulling the strings, maybe there's something to this whole Illuminati thing. Let me give this a second look. And from there, it led me to Alex Jones.
Yeah, and one of the first things, like you said, I can remember the first time seeing Zeitgeist and Wake Up Call and things that were piecemealed from other productions, but kind of put, with like you said, its fair amount of sensationalism and kind of eerie background noise and things like that, to where you might have thought, hey, this is a little bit
extreme.
Yeah, it's kind of the production quality. Again, like you said, it was something. I treated it as entertainment, like anything else. It was just another form for me to kind of go. So, to bring it back full circle, like you said, at some point there, the seed was planted, and it really did, whether or not that it was a constant, fixation, and really, like you said, I'm a voracious reader, so anything like that is kind of the same thing. Once you get interested on something, you really can't let it go. But the seed is planted for, the reality of the situation, which is, I'm not there yet, but I do again feel like that there is some validity to this, sentiment as a whole.
Well, for me, the hunger for the truth at that point, I was one of those, like I said, my mother, my family, you grow up, go to school, go to prom, get a good job, pay your taxes, you shut up, you die, and that's life, and that's, it's all plotted out before you. You don't question that. You don't, at least I didn't at the time. There's individuals out there maybe far beyond me, who weren't stuck into that sheeple lemming mentality, but that was me, and that was my life at that point. I had never questioned the existence or anything like that. Of course, I had a spiritual yearning, but I, of course, just bought into Christian beliefs and ran with that. But really, say what you will about Alex Jones. I know there's all the talk, he's controlled opposition, he works for the Vatican, he's CIA, whatever, what have you. Who knows? I don't know. No one knows. How does he get away with saying the things that he says? I don't know.
Yeah, he appears to be getting a little more
in depth lately. Yeah.
Yeah, it's taken a turn. You know, it's 100% different, like you said, than what it was.
He's touching on some of the things that he pretty much always steered clear from before, like the Vatican and other things of that nature. But say what you like. The point I was trying to make there. Say what you will about him. I know he's had to have woken up thousands upon thousands of viewers and people that have come across this. I mean, even if they don't wake up, they begin
Whether
to question.
or not now at this time, 10 years later, like you said, you're
Right.
totally disagreeing with everything, his stance, his message, him as a whole.
Right.
Whether or not, like you said, this is about looking back, and I don't know, it was instantly let me seek out the YouTube videos. It was let me check on InfoWars and treat that as a real news source and kind of you're getting things from there. Still to this day, like you said, I plug in, I look at it. You can make your own judgments about what you think, but you're getting things, source-wise that you're not going to get anywhere else on any sort of mainstream media outlet.
Right.
So it still serves its purpose.
Yeah, I remember just delving into, I mean, like I said, brand new into that whole world, brand new into that way of thinking. So I remember just delving into everything Alex Jones that I could get my hands on. I mean, we're talking the Bohemian Grove material, him sneaking into Bohemian Grove, and literally, like, I had never, ever even fathomed or begin to believe all the occult workings and inner workings and behind the scenes, black mass kind of stuff that was going on behind those political doors and stuff of that nature until I had watched Alex Jones sneak into Bohemian Grove. I hadn't even had any idea what Bohemian Grove was at that point.
Yeah, that was quite the ride. I mean, like you said, there's a sense of excitement. I mean, you're seeing stuff that you've never.
So I went from pretty much Alex Jones into just delving into, I mean, from there, like you said, the sketchy, almost Conan-like music in the background, kind of YouTube videos where there's those nights where you get on those far-out binges where you've got, 12:30, 2 o'clock in the morning, you're watching these crazy YouTube videos of all this bizarre stuff, man, and you start to just even question everything that you're seeing at that point. And
yeah, there's still a sense of, sometimes you see that and then you hope, think about if you're trying to show someone else and it's like, you know what, I wish some of this stuff could do without, because it's a weird irony that it's trying to point out the truth in things, yet it takes this tone of
bizarre.
Yeah, just a little bit out there, but at the end of the day, that's for you to decide, and you took it for what it was worth, and you formed your own opinions, and at the end of the day, it was still message-wise, pretty important, and you felt like it was something, you were onto something, and you could.
Well, at that point, it's almost like a process, because, I mean, at that point, it's, you find yourself coming out of the cocoon, so to speak. You know what I mean? You were sheltered in this cocoon at one point to where you didn't question these kind of things. And you felt comfortable with your surroundings and you felt comfortable in what you thought you knew. But then to find out that you know absolutely nothing of the true nature of I mean, we're barely scratching the surface here. I mean, if we want to get the true nature of things. But I mean, it's just the true nature, let's just say politics. Or what we think of the government or the military or the world scene or the news, just
right.
The news alone. Like, who would have think to question the news? And
but and then they start breaking down the barriers of it being, an independently owned, type deal, and there's two sources. It's AP or Reuters. I can remember seeing. I want to say it was probably the second that Zeitgeist moving forward, and you talked earlier about. Curriculum in school, and where it really got off on a different tangent of most of the videos that I saw about that. Just kind of your brainwashing had started from when, during your formative years but the thing that I was trying to remember about that was think of the news and how these people are talking to you in this sort of staccato, certain way that, man, it's really, controlled. When you talk about the origins of questioning things, I can remember being just young enough to realize, why is the news negative? Why is everything I see on negative. Here? My grandfather, he lived out of D.C. at the time. This is in the mid '80s, and it was scary to me as a kid because it was murders and
kidnappings.
It was nothing positive. I
you
remember
have a pedophile living next door,
it was Well, Poppy watches the news before he goes to bed, and I'm thinking, what kind of sadist is Poppy? This is you get to watch this before you go to bed, and it's, I mean, the worst of the worst.
And what does that do to one's psyche? Pumping that negativity right before you go to bed.
You're treating it as your daily dose of the truth.
Of your reality.
Yeah, it's your, what went on today in my, immediate surroundings. And it's, to say negative is not even, I mean, it's criminal.
Right.
It's criminal or it's murder. And yeah, I can remember thinking that at a young age. Wow, what a bummer. And that was reality. It wasn't, hey, your cartoons have to go off because Bobby has to watch the news. It's the real world,
right,
hitting you right in the face. And it was overwhelmingly.
Well, let's go back to, because I mean, I would like to think that I had a bit of a hand in your wake up process.
Oh, 100%.
At the time, because like I said, I delved head first in there where most people might have been a little bit more hesitant. Maybe I'm a little bit more nonsensical than other folks, and grabbed that cat by the tail and chased it. But from the outside looking in, let's rewind our relationship back to that point, those mid 2000s, where I was approaching you with stuff like this, like, hey, the Bohemian Grove stuff, or like,
right,
hey, the 9/11 stuff,
oh
yeah, whatever would have you. Where's your take on that point? I mean, is it oh, Kincade's crazy?
No, not at all. Again, like I said, I had worked at the time with an old roommate, and he was another really deep guy. So I got a pretty much daily dose. I would get things from you. I would make my own. I'd watch it by myself. I'd present it to other people. There was, again, crazy isn't even the word. It was a sense of excitement and almost, enlightenment, some sort of awakening that obviously you weren't one of the only ones that was privy to this. I mean, it's on the internet, but
right,
in my circle or, my job or my family or anybody at the time, nobody else is talking about this type of stuff. So you go to the people you think that are capable of understanding you, and you present it to them, and like you said, you just kind of you watch people's eyes roll, you watch their defense mechanisms pop up, and so if anything, I felt just as
curious,
yeah, or as much of an outsider as you or anybody else, because you could feel the defense, and people treated it negatively that you would even approach them with such a topic.
If you had to look back, and going back now, and like I said, just try to put yourself back there. If you had to look back as to one piece of material, whether it be video, book, article, whatever would have you, that was your aha moment, where you're like, you know what, I might have been hesitant before, I've had my head in the sand, but after viewing this piece, there's no doubt, I think that something's going on here, that there's something more to this world that meets the eye, so to speak. Well, what piece of material would you give that credit to in your life?
That's a tough one, and then there's going to be varying stages of, like you said, your own awakening, and some that weren't even rooted in the conspiracy thing at all. But
right.
Again, like I said, that same friend had let me borrow a book on Taoism and Eastern philosophy that, to come full circle nowadays, really had a lot in common with the Law of One material. Those early videos, the Loose Change, Wake Up Call, just with them being able to tie in many different subjects, Illuminati, world powers, the banking system, the Federal Reserve, things that just, you look at it now and it almost seems like a not as cohesive of a direction, but, hitting it from many different levels of, there's this puppet regime and shadow kind of government behind everything. So, yeah, I mean, I would credit those early videos. There's a book I let you borrow, the Derek Jensen book, that Endgame. He talks a lot about multiple things on there, but it's just so many different quotes from so many different type of people. I know he's got his own, propaganda. One of his lines I remember from that book was, every writer, is their own propagandist. So they're steering you in whatever direction they want to take you. Whether or not they're condemning that same practice, they're doing it. They wrote the
Right.
book with a certain tone and a certain direction. But
An agenda.
yeah,
so to
yeah,
speak.
absolutely. But so many different things in there, whether it touches on the history of slavery or the stealing of land from the Native Americans. I mean, just a lot of that stuff kind of, for some reason, I think at the time, just because I was reading that and those are the things that I was watching and seeing, they just tended to resonate together. But they did have a lot to do with each other.
I just remember being so, almost like you said, there's a sense of excitement, and there's like a sense of dread at the same time, and at that point, it almost being frightened, and not knowing how to make heads or tails of this. But I remember just taking what I had learned, and like the big thing for me, the big smoking gun, the big aha moment for me, like I said, was the Loose Change documentary, was the whole 9/11 conspiracy, and from that point on, trying to take that material to people back then, back at that point, and like I said, I mean, they'd almost stonewall you. It'd almost be, not only would they shut down on you, but you'd get that crazy tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, stigma about you. I mean, that would be the label that would be placed upon you. And that almost, I mean, approaching people with that, your family and your friends and whatnot, what was the kickback with taking that kind of conversation to folks?
Just an immediate kind of, where did you source this from? You don't know what you're talking about. What facts do you have? And it was just because you watched a video. Does it
Right.
make you an outright expert? But those weren't, that was never the message you were trying to carry. It was just looking for some sort of camaraderie. And it's like I said, so when you get out of that mindset of, okay, let's strip away all the source material or the YouTube or the books or anything, and just bringing up concepts of, like I said, it always went back to me when someone took the defensive approach. We could talk about war. This isn't rooted in anything that I've seen here recently. This is just a fact of life that we all deal with. And if you can't empathize with the other side of it, I've just always been kind of the staunch believer that, I see it from both ways. And it's really hard to deny that these are, at the end of the day, lower class citizens on each side trying to fight each other for someone who's totally removed from it for an agenda that's really not supported by them. It's all done in the name of, self-preservation and helping out your family. But at the end of the day, you're killing people.
Right.
And if you can feel that that's right, whether it be for, whatever reason, if you're a religious person, I don't see the connection between thou shalt not kill. There's no loophole in there,
Right.
as far as, unless it's for your government or unless it's for, your family's sake and your benefits.
Correct.
And I know that's a real polarizing topic for a lot of people, but at the end
We
of
could
the
probably do a whole show on
I'm sure we will, because I mean it really is the say all end all. You know what I mean? As far as with most people, you're talking life or death there. So yeah, I mean somehow it always got off topic because nobody's really willing to stay on. You can lead the horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. You could force people to watch those videos. They're not taking away the same things that you are. Nobody, for me it was exciting. Like you said, you watched and you studied those things, and it was eye-opening.
Well, I remember just how slippery the slope went, because it started, okay, I can, almost back then, I remember the mindset, I can accept the fact that there's a government controlling everything. I can buy into that. The proof's in the pudding. The history's there. Makes sense. Follow the money. I could accept the fact that the government was lying to you about 9/11 and stuff of that nature. The occult thing took a while, but when you see, like, why is there pentagrams in the layout of DC and owls, and what is all this freaky all-seeing eye doing on the back of your dollar bill? And
yeah, that was, I've always been interested in things like that anyway, so that was its own, before it got into that. But to me, that was just as interesting as any aspect of it.
Well, to me, it got really deep when it springboarded from that to me to I guess just the overwhelm, like the fluoride, to go into like fluoride, just to find out about freaking fluoride. Here I was at the time brushing my teeth with Crest toothpaste, you know what I mean? And like, I didn't, understand the depth of what fluoride did to you, and like, why would, just complete lemming sheep mentality. The government wouldn't do anything to hurt me. They wouldn't put, anything that would harm me in something I'm consuming, would they? Yeah, surprise. Yeah, they do, and they do it on purpose. And, well, why is it in your tap water? Why are you drinking it? And then, from there, to me, the fluoride thing kicked on a whole different level of reality for me, because then I was always the type of person, and I'm sure, not the folks listening to the show at home, but your majority, your 95%, I would say, just grab whatever product off the shelf. This product's safe. It's on the shelf, the FDA,
Right.
And if you know who's behind the FDA, the Rockefeller family and all that good stuff, you grab these products and you think they're safe. Like, oh, okay, and then from there, and once again, I give credit, and I don't want to seem like I'm an Alex Jones trumpeter or this, that, and the other, but I mean, no one else that I found back then was talking about these things. This guy was talking about this stuff. He opened my eyes to the whole cancer and the vaccines and stuff of that nature, and the poisons in the food and the whole water thing. But I became a conscious consumer at that point. Like, I started checking product labels. Like, I started realizing I can't pronounce 75% of what's on this label. Why would I eat it? Why would I drink it? So for me, the next springboard from, hey, the government's corrupt, the whole political fiasco, was the whole depth of how they're poisoning society through the food and water.
Yeah, that's I mean, I know you, and it almost seems like, it got personal. Other than that, before it's just things on a screen you can see,
Right.
But when you tie it into your own
daily life.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it becomes a lot more sinister than just, like you said, let me try to wake people up. Meanwhile,
well, waking people up, that was a whole ball game within itself.
And that was a part of the origin, though. I mean, I remember taking this knowledge and trying to run with it, and it was, like I said, exciting to the point where I immediately wanted to share it with all my friends and close friends and family as a support type thing. Like, hey, I found out some information here, down to something like that. The food, the water, the products.
Well, I don't know about you, but for me, it kind of sprung from there, and there I became a conscious consumer, so to speak, as to what I was eating, what I was drinking, sort of what I was listening to, to take it down that avenue, as far as what was in the music, so to speak,
or entertainment as a whole, movies, TV,
right,
the constant barrage of advertising, the
subliminals, and the kind of like the occult symbology in the movies, and the whole.
Oh yeah.
Like, look at the new Star Wars posters, where, I mean, every character in the new Star Wars poster has something over one eye. Before, prior to having any kind of knowledge of what's going on about anything, you would just think, oh, hey, it's just their theme for the movie, it's just what they're doing. There's nothing behind that. But in reality, I mean, we know, there's a higher meaning to what's behind all of what's going on with stuff of that nature. And as I look at it back then, to where, you start catching all this stuff. You start watching TV through different eyes. You start playing video games through different eyes, and listening to music through different ears. And from then, I think I kind of went to the whole occult logo kind of deal. Like, noticing the stuff that was within the logos. Like, what in the world, the Texaco logos, the Shell Oil.
Yeah, and the CBS.
Right. So really, I think it kind of snowball effect from there. And then, for me, it went kind of into, like, the dark side of things. To the occult side of things. Like, the Alex Jones, Bohemian Grove stuff kind of took me into, well, what the duff do these people believe? So then I started delving into, well, what is the Illuminati into? What are they all about? What is the...
And you're looking at ancient Egypt.
Yep.
Everything. The religious aspects.
You start down, and then you get into their occultism, their Blavatsky stuff.
Yeah, Freemasonry. The history of that, and it's again. So at this whole time, it's just blowing my mind. It's interesting to the point where anything I can get on it, whether or not I can even apply it to, but to take it to a modern day thing. I mean, you're still there's not. You just said the new Star Wars. There's nothing that you see now that isn't through those.
The lens of
better trained eyes. For yourself.
Well, I would like to, for the listeners that are listening to the video and enjoying the show, hopefully, like I said, the first one, just in the comment section of this video, I would like to see what was that turning point for you guys out there. What was that aha moment? What was it that kicked it all off to where you guys started questioning reality and started questioning, I guess, the quote-unquote matrix, the good terminology for it. When did you start realizing that we were in this artificial environment, this artificial creation, and that what you thought was reality wasn't actual reality? I'd really like to see and hear from everybody and find out those pinpoint moments to see what really woke people up. What are those things that got people hitting on to where they opened their eyes finally for the first time?
Yeah, I'd like to see some contemporary. I mean, you're talking again. This is 13, 13,
Right.
14 years ago. So, now you're talking about the Matrix and things like that. The younger generation might not even be people that are familiar with that, movie as an analogy.
Or loose change, even.
Right. But I mean, it goes back. Geez, you're talking, Space Odyssey and just so many metaphorical. Whether it's something that it could be. What is catching people's eyes these days? Whether it be real life happenings, it from whatever that stems from. I mean, that would be interesting to me for sure.
Well, we're about running out of time here for episode 1. Be sure to check us out, theillusionsofreality.com. We have a forum there for you guys. It's going to be uncensored. Say what you want. We don't care. Just don't do anything that's going to get us into trouble, please. So no threats or nothing crazy, anything of that nature. Anything that's going to get us unwarranted or unwanted eyes on us, so to speak. Forum there. All of our podcasts, our shows are going to be put up there. Of course, it'll be tied in with this YouTube channel. The Illusions of Reality as well. Feel free to leave comments. We have an email link on there. If you were on the website, of course, we're going to post all the stuff we come across that we think people need to see. If you think there's stuff that you guys have come across that's interesting, that you want other people to take a look at, that you'd like to see us feature on the site, feel free to send it to us there. The Illusions of Reality at yahoo.com. Send it to us that way. We'll be sure to review it, check it out, get it out, put it up. And like I said, just in the comment section below, just give us your story. What had you waking up? What made you guys start questioning things? Well, Burt, first one in the bag.
Signing off. Yeah, it's it'll get interesting. I'm sure.
And like I said, bear with us. First time here for us, so first outing. It's only going to get better and brighter from here, hopefully. So,
absolutely.
Thank you guys for your time. Kincade and Burt Baxter here signing off for the Illusions of Reality.